Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful. Failure is not your enemy. It's not a life sentence. It's just feedback, that's all. And when you realize that failure is only there to teach you, not to stop you, something shifts inside you. Something wakes up. See, most people fail once or twice, and they fold. They think the dream wasn't real. They think maybe it wasn't meant to be. But I'm here to tell you, if it came to your heart, it was meant to happen in your life. Failure is feedback, not final. Quitting is the only way failure wins. Persistence weakens failure's grip. Champions are built through tenacity. Choose calling over comfort. Every setback is a setup for success. Failure is feedback, not final. This idea may sound simple, but it carries profound truth. Too many people misunderstand what failure really is. They see it as a wall, a dead end, a verdict. They treat it as the final say in whether they're good enough, smart enough, or strong enough. But in reality, failure is none of those things. Failure is simply information. It's a mirror reflecting what didn't work so you can adjust, adapt, and come back stronger. The problem isn't that people fail. The problem is that they interpret failure the wrong way. Failure doesn't mean you're done. It doesn't mean your dream is too big. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for it. All it means is that the path you took wasn't the right one. This time. That's all. It's a signal that something needs to shift. Your strategy, your timing, your approach, maybe even your mindset. But it never means stop. It never means settle. And it definitely never means you don't have what it takes. People fear failure because they think it says something about their worth. That's the root of the problem. But your worth isn't defined by your results. Your worth is built in. What failure does is test your commitment to your purpose. It reveals whether you were in it for the applause or if you were in it for the mission. If you were only chasing quick success, failure might convince you to quit. But if you're locked into your calling, failure becomes a motivator, not a deterrent. It becomes part of the process, not the end of it. Think about how a baby learns to walk. They fall, they wobble, they misstep, they cry, but nobody tells the baby to stop trying. Nobody says, well, maybe walking isn't for you. We cheer them on even when they fall flat. Why? Because we know falling is part of learning. So why do adults stop extending that same grace to themselves? Because somewhere along the way, we were told that failing means you're not good enough. That's a lie. Real success comes not from avoiding failure, but from learning how to use it, from extracting the lesson and applying it, from asking better questions when things don't go your way. What did I miss? What could I do differently? Where did I not prepare enough? That's how you turn failure into feedback. That's how you evolve, because every failure holds wisdom. If you're humble enough to listen, most of the world's greatest innovations were built on the back of repeated failures. Thomas Edison tried over 1,000 times to create a working light bulb. When asked how he felt about failing so many times, he said he didn't fail. He just found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's not optimism. That's clarity. That's someone who understood that failure is a teacher. It teaches resilience. It teaches creativity. It teaches you to be relentless in the pursuit of what matters most. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not the ones who never failed. They are the ones who refuse to be defined by failure. They made the decision that failure was just part of the route to where they were going. They didn't let failure tell them they weren't good enough. They let failure tell them they had more to learn. They weren't afraid to look foolish. They were willing to try and try again and try smarter. When you shift your mindset about failure, you free yourself to take risks. You give yourself permission to dream big, knowing that setbacks don't disqualify you, they refine you. Every great story includes chapters of struggle, doubt, and disappointment. The difference is, the people who win are the ones who kept writing. They didn't close the book when things got hard. They turned the page and tried again with new information. You'll never meet a successful person who didn't stumble, fall, or feel lost at some point. What sets them apart isn't that they never experienced failure. What sets them apart is how they responded to it. They didn't let it be the period at the end of their sentence. They used it as a comma, a pause, a space to recalibrate and continue. That mindset, that grit, that belief in the bigger picture, that's what transforms failure from final to feedback. Quitting is the only way failure wins. It's not the mistake that defeats you. It's not the setback. It's not the rejection, the disappointment, or even the embarrassment. None of those things have the power to define you unless you give up. Failure has no lasting power unless you surrender to it. The moment you stop trying, that's the moment failure becomes permanent. Until then, it's just temporary. It's just a moment, not a life sentence. You have to understand the difference between losing and quitting. Losing is part of the process. Everybody loses. Every great champion, every successful entrepreneur, every respected leader, every one of them has lost at some point, but they didn't quit. That's the difference. Losing doesn't stop your destiny, quitting does. And that's why quitting is failure's secret weapon. It's the only move that gives failure victory over your life. See, the road to any dream is hard. It's filled with resistance. You will be tested. You will feel pressure. You will hit moments when everything in you says, it's too much. Just stop. It's not worth it. But that voice is lying. That voice is failure knocking, asking you to let it in. And if you quit, you're opening the door and saying, you win. But if you push through, if you take one more step even when you're tired, even when you're scared, you slam that door shut and tell failure, not today. What most people don't realize is that success often comes just after the breaking point. That moment when you feel like quitting, that's usually when you're closest to breakthrough. It's like digging a tunnel through a mountain. You could be one swing of the pickaxe away from sunlight, but if you give up in the dark, you'll never see it. The people who reach the other side are not the smartest. They're not the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to quit. Quitting is seductive because it offers short-term relief. It tells you that if you stop now, the pain will go away. You won't have to face rejection anymore. You won't have to risk looking foolish. But what it doesn't tell you is that quitting leaves you with something far worse than pain, regret. Regret doesn't go away. It lingers. It whispers, what if you had kept going? What could your life have looked like? If you're going to build anything great, a business, a legacy, a future, you have to develop the habit of finishing. Don't train yourself to stop when things get tough. Train yourself to rise. When you feel like quitting, remind yourself why you started. Go back to the vision that first lit that fire inside you. Quitting makes you forget that. But purpose makes you remember, and purpose will always outlast pain. If you let it, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep going. You can limp forward. You can crawl forward. You can cry forward. But as long as you don't stop, failure can't claim you. As long as you're still in the fight, the outcome can still change. The scoreboard isn't final until you walk away. You might be behind now, you might be bruised, but if you keep showing up, if you keep swinging, if you keep believing, you give success another chance to find you. Most of the time, success doesn't show up as a bolt of lightning. It shows up quietly, step by step, over time. It shows up to those who stayed in the game long enough to receive it. And the moment you decide that quitting is off the table, that's the moment failure loses its power over you. It has no hold on someone who refuses to stop. Persistence weakens failure's grip. Every time you choose to keep going, you chip away at the power failure has over your mind, your emotions, and your decisions. Failure thrives on fear, on hesitation, on doubt, but persistence is the antidote. It's the mindset that says, I don't care how many times I fall, I will rise again. That kind of resolve is what makes failure temporary. It doesn't eliminate difficulty, but it erodes its influence. The more you persist, the smaller failure becomes, not because it disappears, but because you grow stronger than it. Think of persistence like water cutting through rock. It doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen with one wave. But over time, with consistency, that steady pressure carves through even the hardest stone. That's what persistence does to the barriers in your life. It doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be consistent asterisk. One more call, one more try, one more lesson learned, one more push forward when everything says stop. That's how you make failure lose its grip, by refusing to stop pressing. Most people aren't defeated by failure itself. They're defeated by the story they attach to it. They tell themselves it's the end, that it means they're not capable, not qualified, not chosen. But persistence tells a different story. Persistence says, that didn't work. Yet. It says, there's another way. It shifts your focus from what went wrong to what's still possible. And when you live with that belief, you become dangerous to failure. You become someone it can't hold. Persistence builds momentum. At first, you may see nothing for your effort. You'll work, and it'll feel like the results aren't coming. But just like a snowball rolling downhill, persistence multiplies. It picks up speed. Eventually, things begin to shift. Doors begin to open. Opportunities begin to align. And from the outside, it might look like sudden success. But those who have walked through it know it was persistence behind the scenes all along. In every pursuit, there's a point where most people stop. That invisible line that separates those who give up from those who break through. Persistence is what helps you cross that line. It's what keeps you in motion when the excitement fades, when the applause is gone, when you're running on discipline and belief alone. And it's in that quiet zone, the zone where most quit, that the real transformation happens. That's where strength is forged. That's where winners are made. You won't always feel like continuing. That's the truth. Motivation fades. Emotions rise and fall. But persistence doesn't depend on feelings. It's a decision, not a mood. It's a commitment that says, whether I feel like it or not, I show up. You do the work even when it's hard. You make the call even when you're unsure. You take the next step even when you're tired. Because every time you do, you remind failure that it doesn't own you, that you are still in charge. And here's what's powerful. Persistence teaches you things success never could. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to manage your mindset. It teaches you how to find purpose in the process, not just the outcome. These lessons become part of your foundation. They make you unshakable. Because once you've learned how to persist through failure, you become someone who can handle success without being destroyed by it. Failure wants you to stop trying. That's its entire strategy. But if you persist, you strip it of its authority. You make it irrelevant because it can't stop someone who keeps getting back up. It can't defeat someone who refuses to accept defeat. Every time you persist, you prove that you're not the kind of person who backs down. You're the kind who breaks through. Choose calling over comfort. Comfort is easy, familiar, and safe. It asks nothing from you but gives nothing back. It keeps you where you are, protected from risk, shielded from failure, but also distanced from growth. Calling, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It stretches you, challenges you, demands more from you than you think you have. But it also transforms you. It pulls out potential you didn't know was inside you. It wakes up gifts that comfort would have left asleep forever. There's a cost to both comfort and calling. Comfort costs you your future. Calling costs you your present ease. You can't have both. You either pay the price now by chasing your purpose or pay later with the regret of never trying. Calling is inconvenient. It shows up when you're not ready. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It just asks, are you willing? Are you willing to risk being misunderstood, to stand out, to take the long road, to fail in public, to outlast opposition? Most people say they want success, but what they really want is comfort with a side of progress. That's not how it works. Comfort keeps you small. It makes you shrink your dreams to fit your current surroundings. Calling forces you to grow. It demands that you upgrade your mindset, your discipline, and your capacity. It tells you you were made for more, and it keeps pushing you toward that more, even when you'd rather settle. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it creates invisible chains. You stop moving forward. You stop challenging yourself. You stop taking bold steps, and slowly you start settling for less. Less passion, less impact, less meaning. That's how people end up successful on paper but empty inside. They chose comfort and called it wisdom. They avoided risk and called it strategy. But deep down, they know they played it safe. Your calling isn't just about what you do. It's about who you become. It's the path that sharpens your character, deepens your faith, and expands your vision. It's the only road that leads to a life of real fulfillment, but it won't let you stay the same. It will confront your fear. It will expose your excuses. It will force you to grow past your limits. That's why few people follow it. Because comfort is always nearby, whispering lies. You're fine where you are. Why push so hard? What if you fail again? But calling speaks louder if you're willing to listen. It reminds you of the fire inside you, the dream you can't shake, the purpose you can't ignore. It tells you that the pain of discipline is nothing compared to the pain of regret. And if you dare to follow it, if you choose it again and again over comfort, you'll discover that every step you take in alignment with your calling leads to power, clarity, and impact. There's no promise that it will be easy, but there is a promise that it will be worth it. Because calling leads you into battles that build you. It introduces you to people who sharpen you. It takes you through seasons that prepare you. And eventually, it brings you into alignment with the very reason you were put on this earth. Comfort can never do that. It's too small to hold your destiny. That's why the decision has to be made daily. In your actions, your thoughts, your habits, you either lean toward ease or lean into growth. Every time you avoid the hard thing, you strengthen comfort. Every time you do the hard thing, you strengthen calling. And over time, that choice becomes your legacy. Champions are built through tenacity. It's not talent that sets them apart. It's not luck, opportunity, or even intelligence. It's that relentless drive to keep going, no matter how hard it gets. Tenacity is the internal engine that keeps moving forward when everything outside says stop. It's the quiet voice inside that says, one more round, when others would walk away. That's what builds a champion. Not the highlight reels, but the hidden grind, the moments nobody sees. You can't fake tenacity. It's revealed when things go wrong. It shows up when the plan fails, when the support vanishes, when the progress slows to a crawl. It's easy to be confident when things are working, but tenacity is what carries you when they're not. Champions understand this. They don't rely on ideal conditions. They train themselves to push through the storm, to create progress in chaos, to find clarity in pressure. Tenacity doesn't mean never falling. It means never staying down. It's the determination to stand back up faster every time life knocks you off your feet. Champions don't have fewer failures, they just have a higher bounce back rate. They don't dwell on the loss. They study it, learn from it, and use it to come back sharper. That kind of mental toughness isn't built in the spotlight. It's forged in private battles, early mornings, late nights, and decisions no one applauds. A tenacious mindset sees obstacles differently. Where others see walls, the tenacious see puzzles. Where most people stop, the tenacious start asking better questions. What's another way? What haven't I tried yet? How do I grow from this? That kind of thinking turns adversity into training. It doesn't just build success. It builds the character strong enough to sustain it. Champions train for the long haul. They know there's no shortcut to greatness. They embrace the grind because they understand that mastery lives in repetition. They don't chase overnight success. They develop daily discipline. It's not about how fast you get there. It's about how committed you are to keep showing up day after day without applause, without validation, without needing to feel good every time. And that's the difference. Most people stop when it's no longer exciting. Champions keep going when it's boring, frustrating, and painful. That's where the separation happens. Tenacity says, I don't need it to be easy. I just need it to be worth it. And because they refuse to quit, because they refuse to settle, champions rise while others stall. Tenacity doesn't guarantee quick results, but it guarantees eventual success, because it refuses to quit. Every challenge becomes another rep in their mental gym. Every delay becomes another layer of grit. And slowly but surely, they become unshakable. Their results may look sudden, but their foundation was built through years of grind, mistakes, correction, and commitment. The truth is, there's nothing glamorous about tenacity. It's messy, it's exhausting, it's lonely, but it's also unstoppable. It's what makes someone show up with full effort even when no one's watching. It's what keeps them building when there's no evidence that it's working. Yet, tenacity says, I will not be denied. And then it goes to work proving it. That's how champions are made. Not by never failing, but by never folding. Not by having perfect conditions, but by choosing to stay in the fight when every reason says to walk away. Tenacity turns ordinary people into legends, not because they were destined, but because they were determined. Choose calling over comfort. Comfort is easy, familiar, and safe. It asks nothing from you, but gives nothing back. It keeps you where you are, protected from risk, shielded from failure, but also distanced from growth. Calling, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It stretches you, challenges you, demands more from you than you think you have, but it also transforms you. It pulls out potential you didn't know was inside you. It wakes up gifts that comfort would have left asleep forever. There's a cost to both comfort and calling. Comfort costs you your future. Calling costs you your present ease. You can't have both. You either pay the price now by chasing your purpose, or pay later with the regret of never trying. Calling is inconvenient. It shows up when you're not ready. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It just asks, are you willing? Are you willing to risk being misunderstood, to stand out, to take the long road, to fail in public, to outlast opposition? Most people say they want success, but what they really want is comfort with a side of progress. That's not how it works. Comfort keeps you small. It makes you shrink your dreams to fit your current surroundings. Calling forces you to grow. It demands that you upgrade your mindset, your discipline, and your capacity. It tells you you were made for more, and it keeps pushing you toward that more, even when you'd rather settle. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it creates invisible chains. You stop moving forward, you stop challenging yourself, you stop taking bold steps, and slowly you start settling for less passion, less impact, less meaning. That's how people end up successful on paper but empty inside. They chose comfort and called it wisdom. They avoided risk and called it strategy. But deep down, they know they played it safe. Your calling isn't just about what you do. It's about who you become. It's the path that sharpens your character, deepens your faith, and expands your vision. It's the only road that leads to a life of real fulfillment, but it won't let you stay the same. It will confront your fear. It will expose your excuses. It will force you to grow past your limits. That's why few people follow it. Because comfort is always nearby, whispering lies. You're fine where you are. Why push so hard? What if you fail again? But calling speaks louder if you're willing to listen. It reminds you of the fire inside you, the dream you can't shake, the purpose you can't ignore. It tells you that the pain of discipline is nothing compared to the pain of regret. And if you dare to follow it, if you choose it again and again over comfort, you'll discover that every step you take in alignment with your calling leads to power, clarity, and impact. There's no promise that it will be easy, but there is a promise that it will be worth it. Because calling leads you into battles that build you, it introduces you to people who sharpen you, it takes you through seasons that prepare you, and eventually it brings you into alignment with the very reason you were put on this earth. Comfort can never do that. It's too small to hold your destiny. That's why the decision has to be made daily. In your actions, your thoughts, your habits, you either lean toward ease or lean into growth. Every time you avoid the hard thing, you strengthen comfort. Every time you do the hard thing, you strengthen calling. And over time, that choice becomes your legacy. Every setback is a setup for success. Life rarely moves in a straight line. Progress often looks like chaos before it looks like clarity. What feels like a delay might actually be divine timing. What looks like rejection might be redirection. Setbacks are not signs that you're off course. They're often the very things that prepare you to handle what's coming. They build the muscles that comfort never could. They stretch your thinking, sharpen your resolve, and expose weaknesses you couldn't see in easier seasons. The problem is, most people judge the process too early. They face a setback and assume it means failure. They hit resistance and assume it means they're not ready. But champions see it differently. They understand that pain has a purpose. They know that frustration is sometimes the doorway to transformation. A setback isn't there to stop you. It's there to strengthen you. It's the test that proves whether you really want it or just liked the idea of it. Setbacks reveal the parts of your character that comfort hides. They show you where you lean on shortcuts, where you depend on applause, where you still operate in fear. They don't come to destroy you, they come to develop you. And when you embrace that mindset, setbacks lose their sting. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" That single shift changes everything. There are doors you're meant to walk through that only open after resistance. You weren't denied. You were delayed until you were ready. You weren't punished. You were prepared. The most powerful people aren't those who had the smoothest path. They're the ones who took their hits and kept building. They're the ones who turned failure into fuel. They saw every no as one step closer to a yes. They used every disappointment as training for destiny. Think about it. Every story worth telling has a struggle. Every hero has a low point. But what makes them heroes is that they didn't stop there. They used the setback to fuel the comeback. They found strength they didn't know they had. They saw opportunities they never would have considered if things had gone according to plan. Sometimes the detour is the path. Sometimes the obstacle asterisk is asterisk the opportunity. But you won't see that if you're fixated on the fall. It takes maturity to look at your struggle and say, This is making me better. It takes faith to believe that what's working against you could actually be working asterisk for asterisk you. But if you can hold onto that belief, you'll find purpose even in pain. You'll stop quitting when it gets hard, because you'll understand that the hard parts are where the breakthrough is being built. You'll stop asking for easy and start asking for strength. And strength is always born in struggle. Success doesn't come to those who avoid setbacks. It comes to those who learn how to use them, those who pause long enough to reflect, adjust, and keep moving, those who trust that the process is bigger than the moment. Because when you look back, you'll see that every painful lesson, every delay, every loss, was actually leading you somewhere greater. What felt like being buried was really being planted, and in time, growth shows up. Not in spite of the setback, but because of it. The truth is simple. Failure is not the end of your story. It's a chapter in your growth. Every setback, every rejection, every moment you feel like quitting is simply life testing your tenacity, your resilience, and your commitment to your purpose. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about using it, learning from it, and refusing to let it define you. Champions are not those who never fall, they are those who refuse to stay down. The moment you decide that quitting is not an option, failure loses its power over you. Embrace the struggles, welcome the setbacks, because every time you rise, you become stronger, wiser, and closer to the success you're destined for. The journey may not be easy, but it will be worth it. Keep going, keep pushing. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.